even discussing the European issue. But for Miliband, you know, for the Labour election broadcasts, the European question is not discussed. For the Conservative Party, despite the fact that 5 years ago, Dave, as he likes to be known, Dave, 5 years ago, promised, in fact, he gave a cast-iron guarantee. He promised that if he became Prime Minister the next year, there would be a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty. And now, 5 years on, he says, vote for me because I'll give you a referendum. I don't believe him, do you? But there is one man who I really do wish to thank. No, there is one man who is leading us up in the opinion polls. There is one man who means we can win these European elections. There's one man who means we can win hundreds of council seats on May the 22nd as well. There's one man who has propelled us with such momentum that who knows, in Newark, something truly historic and earth-shattering may happen. Now it could be me, couldn't it? It could be my leadership of the party that's pushed us to this position. It could be Paul Sykes in the front row here, who's been enormously generous with his time for Now it could be Paul Sykes, who is the main man, who is propelling us on to what could be a great victory. But actually, Paul, I'm sorry, it's not even you. No, the one man who has put UKIP at the centre stage of a national debate in this country by allowing us for the first time in 40 years to have a full national debate on television about what the European project really means for the people of this country and indeed the people of the rest of Europe is, of course, Nick Clegg. Thank you. Thank you. I think what Clegg has thought is that if we have a national debate on television, and I say to Nigel, if we weren't part of the European Union, 3.5 million British people would lose their jobs, the sky would fall in, and we go back to living in caves. You know, I think he really thought that if that argument was put against me and against UKIP, we would literally just fold and melt away, so scared would the British people be. And of course, it's a line that he uses, it's a line that David Cameron uses, it's a line that David Miliband uses, it's a line that Ken Clarke uses, and Lord Heseltine uses, it's a line that Lord Mandelson uses. Getting a bit worried about you there for a moment. And this is the line the establishment pump out. If we weren't part of this political union, we'll lose 3.5 million jobs. And Clegg, I think Clegg actually believes it. No, I do, honestly. And I think they all believe it. And the reason they believe it is that none of them have any experience in the business or commercial world at all. Because we are run in this country now by a bunch of college kids who've gone to the same schools, the same university, done the same degrees, and have never done a day's work in their lives. Because if they had, they would understand that yes, Nissan and Honda manufacture motor cars in this country, many of which are sold into Europe. But unless you've got a blindfold on, you might have noticed there are 1 or 2 German motor cars driving around in Britain too. In fact, they sell us nearly 1 million motor cars a year, more than we sell them. You know, did you know that this country is per capita, now we are the greatest champagne drinkers in the world? I haven't got a German car, but on the second one, I think I've done my bit. And they sell us 20 million bottles a year. Yeah, sure, we trade with Europe. Yeah, sure, we sell them £100 billion worth of goods every year. Sure, it's about 40% of our overseas export. But the point, ladies and gentlemen, and the point Nick Clegg, and the point the British public have latched onto is they sell us £150 billion worth of goods every year. And there is no prospect of that trade ceasing. And the opportunity, and many on this platform will understand this better than Nick Clegg and our political class, the opportunity that is so exciting is this. Yeah, we'll go on having a free trade deal with our next door neighbours. But at the moment, despite the fact we have the 6th biggest economy in the world, despite the fact that we're still, believe it or not, the 8th largest manufacturing nation in the world, despite the fact we speak English, despite the fact we have a history of centuries of trading all over the globe, we are, as a result of membership of this outdated 19th century customs union that is called the EU, we are prohibited from making our own trade relationships with the rest of the world. And the UKIP message is, far from being little Englanders, they are little Europeans. They are keeping us tied up. They are keeping us tied up, entrapped inside something that is massively expensive, grossly over-regulated, and is damaging our relationship with the rest of the world. And the UKIP message is, let's divorce ourselves amicably from the European Union. Let's replace that with a genuine free trade agreement, the kind of thing my mum and dad thought they were voting for all the way back in 1975. Some here may remember that, the common market. But here's the exciting bit. Let's open ourselves up. Let's not think of our future as being a European trading nation. Let's think of our future as being a global trading nation. And I'll tell you a good place to start. Why don't we open ourselves up to a group of countries who have within them just over 2 billion people. They speak English. They have common law. They have similar contract law. They are our friends. They are our cousins. They are our extended family in the world. Let's open ourselves up and let's have a trade deal with the Commonwealth. That's the way to do it. And these arguments, I think, in those TV debates are beginning to get through now to the British public. But of course, the central question that will really decide what happens on May the 22nd, that will decide what happens in Newark, and may well decide the shape of this country after a general election next year, is that the number one concern for British families in this country is the level of open-door immigration that is fundamentally changing our societies, that is fundamentally affecting the job prospects of our young, that is leading to terrible wage compression for many in work who find themselves taking home the same or less than they were 10 years ago, despite the fact the gas bill has gone up. It has led to a massive shortage of primary school places. It has led, in many parts of this country, to accident and emergency waiting times doubling in the last 5 years. Never in the history of this nation which has been so welcoming to so many people over the years, whether they were refugees, whether they were Huguenots, as indeed my family were, going back to the 18th century, whether they were Jews fleeing from Russia or fleeing from Germany, whether they were the 27,000 Ugandan Asians, whether they were part of our extended family of the Commonwealth, who of course gave and sacrificed so much to the mother country in 2 world wars. Nobody can ever accuse this country of being inward-looking, of being backward-looking, and of not being open and tolerant of others from different cultures, from different religions, and from different countries. But we've never before had a situation where we've opened up to a group of poor countries in Eastern Europe and a group of increasingly poorer countries because of the cretinous Eurozone in the south of Europe, and we have a total open door to these countries. It cannot be allowed to continue. Cannot be allowed to continue. We cannot go on with the annual net inflow of 250,000 people and more into Britain. How can we plan for primary school places? How can we plan for accident and emergency? How can we plan for anything? For housing? I think Suzanne Evans said earlier, we have to build a new house every 7 minutes just to cope with the increased migratory flow coming into Britain. How can we do any of these things when we don't have the faintest idea who is coming to Britain next year or the year after that? We need to take back control of our borders. And we cannot take back control of our borders. We cannot decide who comes to live, work and settle in this country, all the while we're a member of the European Union and committed to open borders. And that perhaps is the biggest reason of all. We need to send a rocket to the political establishment in 2 weeks' time. Not only do we want our money back, we want our borders back, and we want our country back. And that argument, ladies and gentlemen, is so logical, is so bomb-proof, and is so correct that they've given up now trying to debate with us on the issue. They can't. There is no counter-argument that works. And so what they've tried to do is they've decided that rather than going for the ball, they're going to go for the man. And we have seen over the course of the last few weeks much very deep unpleasantness that has occurred through the media, that has occurred online, and has occurred to our leafleters and canvassers around this country. Now let me be clear. We have put forward into the field this year 2,234 candidates for the local elections. Whilst UKIP has professionalised, whilst UKIP has improved, whilst UKIP is better now at doing everything than it ever was before, and whilst UKIP has a membership form that says within it, if you've ever been a member of an extreme organisation or who have views that are not compatible with the party, you shouldn't join. And whilst every candidate is asked to sign a declaration to the same effect, there will always be, in any system, a few people that creep over the line and cause us embarrassment. And I would rather that the 10 people out of the 2,234 that have said things that are either stupid or offensive in some cases, I'd rather it hadn't happened. But the result of this has been that huge sections of the British media, defending their friends in the so-called main parties, although as we prefer to call them, the legacy parties, and the offensive, idiotic statements made by this handful of people have been lifted up and presented to the great British public as if they represent the view of this party, which they do not. They never have, and they never will. There has been, amongst those that do not wish us well, mostly on the extreme left, you've seen some of them outside earlier, there has been a level of hatred generated. And do you know what? The people that are bearing the brunt of this are on the stage with me this evening. They are the candidates of UKIP, from all their different backgrounds and from all their different religions. And I want, please, hereafter, and I'm addressing this comment to the press, I don't care if you disagree with us. I don't care if you think we're better off being governed by Cameron or Clegg or Miliband. I don't care if you think uncontrolled immigration is good for Britain. I don't care if you criticise us for wanting to be a free, independent country and not under that flag, anthem and preposterous president whose no one's name actually knows. Well, I did a bit of marketing for him, didn't I? I don't care what you call us. You can call us right-wing, left-wing. You can call us small-minded. You can call us whatever you... I don't care what you call us. But from this moment on, please, Do not ever call us a racist party. We are not a racist party.
Can we have a final hand for Nigel Farage, who's worked tremendously well for this party? Thank you.
One last thing to all of you on the stage and in the audience. Are you ready to join the People's Army that is UKIP?
Thank you.